Good morning. It's Adrienne, who is gratefully diabetic. And I am going to tell you my journey on how I found out I was a diabetic and how I dealt with it and how I'm dealing with it now. Um, I do have other platforms that I talk on, but this is going to be the one where I really delve into everything and I really go on and get a little deeper on how it's affected me and my life. So back in 2019, this is like January or February, I went to the doctors and had a whole series of tests done because for our insurance, my husband's insurance company makes us get a physical every year, and that determines, I guess insurance stuff. I have nothing to do with it. So anyway, I go and I get my physical done, which involves the blood work. So my doctor calls me a few days after, and I didn't really recognize the number, so I didn't answer. And nowadays, if I don't know the number, I'm not picking up. You don't know the crazies are out there, right? So they called again the next day, and I thought, oh gosh, this looks familiar. And I still didn't answer. They left a message this time. So, sorry, really good coffee here. Gotta have my coffee in the morning. It's something I just can't give up. I'm trying to. Anyway, I listened to the message and I was like, oh crap, it's my doctor. She wants me to call her back. Well, I forgot to call her back. So a couple more days go by and she calls again and I was like, oh, I better answer this. So I answer. I now happen to be at the grocery store with my groceries in my cart. And that's when she calls. But I was like, oh, this is her third time. She really must need to talk to me. So I pick up, I talk to her, and lo and behold, she tells me I am pre-diabetic, but pretty much almost diabetic. So if there's like a pre-diabetes and then diabetic, between those two, that's what I was. So I get off the phone with her, and I remember looking down into my cart, and I was like, well, half the stuff has to go. And I started crying because when I was younger, in my 20s and early 30s, when I had my two daughters, I had one when I was 26 and one at 34. I was gestational diabetes at those times, and I had been told when you're older, you're probably going to have diabetes because you have gestational diabetes. I also remember thinking, looking at the food and crying, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm older. So I put all of the stuff back. In fact, I put most of it back, and then in my not thinking phase, because I was upset that I'm almost diabetic, I just left some of it, sorry, to the grocery store, and I went home, and I cried on my husband's shoulder, and he said, it's you, you'll be fine. We'll just change things around, and I know that you're gonna be good at this. So I go to the doctor because she wants me to come in. I go in. She prescribes medicine, metformin to be exact. And honestly, I don't take things, I don't put stuff in my body. Unless it's Advil, and that's once in a great while. Because I do suffer from headaches, but I'll get into more on that. I'll talk about headaches later. So I don't like putting stuff in my body. I don't like doing anything that's not natural. So I went home with the prescription, and honestly, it took me 4 or 5 months back up. I did get the meds, and I picked them up. This was within a week of talking to her and getting the prescription, but it sat in my cabinet 4 to 6 months. I can't remember the exact time. I know it was more than 4 months before I actually took it. I was not happy. I ended up taking that almost a year, but I will talk about that later as well. But I will say being a diabetic has led to eating healthier, watching what I put into my body, watching how I treat my body. And I think after the crying session I had, I turned my attitude around. It took me a while. It did take me months, and I'm still working on it. I still get upset. But I have turned my attitude around, and that is why I am doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to encourage people. I'm trying to get people to realize, especially diabetics out there. I'm obviously, my heart is with diabetics. This is not a death sentence for type 2 or type 1. I'm learning more about that as well. This is something that we can embrace and try to make our lives even better and healthier. So I will be talking about diabetes, the right things to eat, wrong things to eat, exercise, and a major thing in my life that I have just added in the last couple of months, gratefulness. So please, follow me, subscribe to the channel, and I will have recipes and just a lot of stuff. Also, I'm on Facebook, so if you want to look me up on Facebook, that'd be awesome. And I'm a big reader, so I do reviews, and I talk about books on TikTok, and that's under Spellbound by Books. And I do have a Spellbound by Books Facebook as well, because I love reading. Okay, thank you for joining me today. If it's morning time and you're watching this, enjoy your coffee or tea or whatever you do. No drinking pop.